What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another episode of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you're listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 362 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube and on X. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on X and on Instagram. And also subscribe to IE Sports Radio on YouTube if you haven't already. If you have, you're awesome. But we just recently surpassed 500 subscribers. We are trying to make it to 1,000 and beyond. We reached one goal. Now let's keep on reaching more goals until we are big time on our own terms. But for the last 12 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Also, check out our website as well, as we have our blog. We also have all sorts of our other shows that we have on our network, such as Fast Break with Davidson Crooks and Notorious Locke, 3 and Out with Larry B., as well as myself and Big Mike. You also have Shin Pads and Shenanigans with Jess and Big Mike. You also have The Neutral Zone with Freddie B. and Adam Karnick, and so on and so forth. But before we get on into the volleyball action, let us talk about who we are and what we're all about via our little drop, our little commercial. So without any further delay, let's get on into what we're all about. So I will see you all in a little bitty bit.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows and definitely check out our website. Definitely check out iesportsradio.com. Check out all things IE Sports Radio. We appreciate everyone for being supportive of us and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Set Point on social media is on X and TikTok. I promise you I'll get the TikTok refired up again. As you can follow Set Point on X and TikTok at set_point.ie. You can also follow me personally on X as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. You can also follow Set Point on Instagram, which is where I was mainly active. I'm starting to get more active on Instagram, if you all can believe that. But you can follow me on Instagram. Also, we'll follow Set Point on Instagram and also follow Set Point on Facebook, which is tethered to the Instagram account. So that's a fun fact right there, just for monetization purposes. But with all that being said, let's get on into the volleyball action. So we don't have too much to talk about, as I actually do want to make a little correction on what I spoke about last week. So last week, I thought the last week of the AVP League was this past weekend. Well, it's actually this weekend. So I kind of see why, just because there was the Manhattan Beach 8-man, which I totally understand why there was no AVP League week, but it is what it is. So yeah, if you went to the 6-man, which I one day hope to do so, bully for you. And I hope you had an amazing time in Manhattan Beach. One day I want to attend a 6-man beach volleyball tournament, which, the Manhattan Beach 6-man is just outstanding. But yeah, that's something I do need to make a correction of. So since I previewed the AVP League last week, I'll probably go over it a little bit, like the Diet Coke version, after the second commercial break. So without any further delay, let's get on into the actual volleyball action that happened this past weekend. So not this past weekend, but this past week. So let's start with the men's VNL finals. So the men's VNL finals, Poland wound up winning the whole thing, though the U.S. had a really good showing. I'm going to say this right now. The U.S. had a very, 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 very nice showing. I did not expect them to have the run that they did, like everyone else probably did. But let's recap some of these matches. So the first match was Slovenia versus Turkey. So this was Turkey's first ever men's VNL finals appearance, while Slovenia has been a regular when it comes to the VNL finals. In the end, Slovenia was able to take down Turkey in straight sets, though the second and third sets were decided in the 30s, if you can believe that. I was very impressed by Turkey. It's just that, unfortunately, I just think the inexperience kind of caught up with them. But Turkey fought tooth and nail in those matches. So overall, I got to give them, a kudos on their season. And who knows, maybe Turkey can have the same success as their women's team did. I mean, the fact that Turkey is now put on the map in terms of men's volleyball is really something impressive. So great job to Turkey on an amazing season, but Slovenia advances to the semifinals. Next up, we had Japan taking on China. I was very surprised at how competitive this matchup was. I mean, China had nothing left to lose. They were the worst team in the VNL in terms of point-wise and record-wise. I mean, they had the same record as Canada, but still. China was the worst team in the VNL. The only reason why they were in the VNL finals was because they were hosting. They took on Japan, one of their big-time rivals. They did take the first set 25-23, but Japan was able to rally the troops and get it together. Look, I wasn't ultimately impressed by Japan. I thought Japan left a lot of meat on the bone despite winning. The third set was what really impressed me. I thought Japan looked good in that third set, but the second and fourth set, even though they won those sets by 2 points, I thought they could have done a whole lot better job of taking a little bit of pressure on them. I thought this was going to be the equivalent of a bye match, but China had other plans, and I was very impressed by China on how they had nothing to lose. They wanted to play and win in front of their fans, and the fact that they took a set off Japan was pretty impressive. But Japan has kind of shown cracks in their games. I feel like Japan, this is why I didn't really pick them to win the VNL finals. But overall, I thought Japan, they took care of business like they were supposed to, and I thought they wound up taking down China quite nicely. It could have been a lot more cleaner, but hey, a win's a win. At that point, it's basically win or go home. So those were last Wednesday's quarterfinal matches. So in the semifinals, you had Italy versus the United States. Now, this one, I was a little surprised that this one was decided in 3. I thought Italy was going to give the U.S. a big bolstering battle, but yeah, U.S. actually jumped out to an early lead in the first set. Italy caught up with them, but the U.S. eventually took that first set. Eventually, the U.S. took the second set, and they're actually down 14-9 in set 3. And I'm thinking, oh, great. Italy's going to make this a battle, right? Not so fast, my friend. The U.S. was able to get it together. They outscored them 16-5 the rest of the way. Oh, no, not 16-5, 16-7. And they were able to take that third set 25-21. And honestly, the U.S. really impressed me. I was very surprised and impressed that the U.S. played this type of game against a quality opponent like Italy. Well, it just shows that this team definitely has experience. It's just that I think last year it didn't really do Karch Karai and the U.S. any justice, since that was Karch's first year on the men's side. But thankfully for the U.S., they were able to show that they belonged there, and they were able to pick up the win. And then the final quarterfinal matchup we had was Poland versus Ukraine. Just like Turkey, Ukraine was making its first ever men's VNL finals debut. They looked like they belonged there for the most part. First two sets, Ukraine looked like they belonged there as they split the first two sets. Poland won the first set 25-22. Ukraine won the second set by that same score. But after the second set, Poland just went to town. Tomas Fornal and Wilfredo Leon were just on their A game. Leon is just a cheat code, dude. It's just unbelievable how great his game is. And eventually Poland was able to win the match in 4. Look, I'll give it to Ukraine. They really impressed me, but it's just that experience matters. And they were playing last year's VNL champion, so Ukraine would have definitely needed to play their best volleyball and then some. But unfortunately, they did not. So I feel it for Ukraine, but this might be the start of something special for them. All right, now for the semifinals. So the semifinals were on Saturday. The first matchup was Slovenia-Poland. If you missed this matchup, you didn't miss anything. Poland dusted off Slovenia big time. Some were saying that this was going to be Poland's biggest challenge of the men's VNL finals, but Poland just clobbered Slovenia. I was really impressed by how Poland handled Slovenia. I kind of am surprised that Slovenia just did not play its best against Poland, but I guess Poland was just that good. I didn't even bother watching this. I just knew Poland was going to win. I just didn't think that they would have held Slovenia to under 20 points. But yeah, it's a massive win, an impressive win for Poland. But Poland advances to its second straight men's VNL finals, which, look, it's not surprising. I had Poland going to the finals no matter who they were going to take on, and now they get the winner of Japan-USA. All right, USA-Japan. So the first set, the U.S. was able to take it 25-19. The U.S. looked ready to go. It's not that they were bad against Japan the first go-around. It's just that they could not get any separation and close the gap against Japan the first meeting. But the U.S. took that first set. Japan was able to edge out, winning set number 2, winning it 25-23. And then the third set, Japan took it 25-20. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's looking like it's not going to be the U.S.'s day. But the U.S. had other plans. They took the fourth set 25-19. And just like most of Japan's matches this year, they went the distance. As I'm thinking to myself, maybe this is where Japan gets tripped up. But it was a tight back-and-forth battle in that fifth set. Japan actually went up 12-11. The USA tied it up. And then Ethan Champlin served up an ace to put the U.S. up 13-12. And then eventually the U.S. had match point at 14-12. Japan dodged one match point, but Matt Anderson, who else, put down the match-clinching kill. Even at 40 years old, Matt Anderson still is him. So Japan suffers their first loss of the season. I had a feeling those 5-set matches were eventually going to catch up to Japan. And it was only a matter of time before Japan's games suddenly cracked. And that's no disrespect to Japan. I thought they had an amazing run through the men's VNL, but the U.S., it kind of helps that the U.S. came up big in that fifth set. They were clutch in that fifth set. So the U.S. went from missing the VNL finals last year on the men's side to now making it to the VNL finals championship match or gold medal match in just the span of 1 year, which I think was very impressive. Just shows that Karch Karai is a legend in terms of volleyball. And I guarantee you, after the U.S. beat Japan, Freebird was blasting all over the world. But I digress. All right, so now for the medal matches. So Slovenia-Japan, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the biggest medal fan or bronze medal match guy. I mean, bronze medal matches are kind of tricky because sometimes teams like to rest their starters and just play the reserves, or teams just don't take it seriously just because it's a bronze medal match. And unless it's the Olympics, it's not the biggest thing. I mean, you obviously want to win and, have a high finish, but I just think bronze medal matches are a little meh, if you ask me. But in the end, Slovenia took down Japan in 4. So Japan wound up winning its first 13 matches of the VNL. Then they lost the semifinals to the United States. And then they lost to Slovenia in the bronze medal match to finish 4th. Yikes. That's a little bit of a rough finish for Japan. It's not, again, not any disrespect by any means to Japan, but I just thought Japan left a lot of meat on the bone when it came to the VNL finals. It's tough just because you're undefeated in preliminary round, and then you have to be undefeated at the end of the VNL finals, which is a lot of pressure. And God bless Italy's women's volleyball team for doing this the past couple seasons. But for Japan, it's just a tough way to end the VNL. But who knows? Maybe they could be on the trajectory in terms of the World Championship or the Elite Six. But I digress. All right, now for the gold medal matchup. United States versus Poland. So Poland came out jumping and ready to go. They wound up winning the first set 25-21. It was basically the Wilfredo Leon show in that first set. But then the U.S. got together. They won the second set 25-23. The third set actually went overtime as the United States wound up winning that 27-25. I was really impressed by how the United States just played their game. They were just playing so clean. The U.S. eventually led 20-19 after Cole Hartke was subbed in as a blocking sub, and man, did he register that block to a T. And he is the pride of Pepperdine men's volleyball. I mean, Pepperdine has had a lot of amazing players come in and out of their program in the past, but Cole Hartke is just built different. So the U.S. was up 20-19, but Poland just went on a mean service run. I think it was Tomas Fornal that had that serving run. But either way, Poland just made a great serving run, and they eventually clinched the fourth set off of a block at the net. Jake Haynes tried to go for the block on the right side, but then he was met at the net. And then the fifth set happened, and Poland just led pretty much wire to wire. The U.S. tried as they could. They just could not get past Poland's block. Eventually, Poland wound up winning the fifth set 15-10, ending the U.S.'s chances. And the U.S. finishes with silver for, I think, the fourth or fifth time in the men's VNL side. And it sucks because, man, did the U.S. work hard to try to get to the VNL Finals championship match. But Poland repeats as gold medalists, while the U.S. will have to claim silver again. But I think the U.S. is back. Last year, like I said, they missed the VNL Finals. Obviously, it was their first year with Karch Karai. Not all the players were 100%. But this year was a whole different United States team. The U.S. locked in for the most part this season. And they really impressed me in the Poland match despite losing. Because remember, their first matchup against Poland, they got whooped on their home soil in Chicago, Illinois. But the fact that Poland was able to take down the United States, but they needed 5, was very impressive on their behalf. And there's no land like Poland when it comes to men's volleyball, hence the title. So congratulations to Poland. Nothing but respect for them. Tomas Fornal was named the MVP of the men's VNL. But the U.S. is back, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to see what they can do in the World Championship and the Elite Six or any other tournament that they're playing in this year. So keep an eye out for the U.S. this year. Do not sleep on them by any means. But that'll do it for the men's VNL recap. And that is it for the VNL entirely. So everyone, their moms are going to be canceling their Volleyball TV subscription just because, well, actually, no, they probably shouldn't. And maybe you could use a coupon. I think there's like a coupon where if you use it, you get the Big 10 package for like 60 or 80% off. Either way, that was courtesy of Avid Volley, by the way. Free Avid Volley, by the way. Get them back on X. They're active on Instagram now that unfortunately, X kind of cracked down on them. But I think Avid Volley should be back on X. There's no way they should be, banned from X just because they express an opinion, but I digress. But yeah, back to Volleyball TV. If you want to keep your subscription, go right ahead. I mean, will I want to keep my subscription for Volleyball TV? We'll see. I mean, I don't necessarily see it outside of maybe the Big 10 matches, Big 10 women's volleyball matches happening. But you never know. Maybe I'll keep it. I'm just not made of consistent cash. I mean, I have a job lined up. I have a job at the grocery store, as we all know. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I want to continue having my Volleyball TV subscription. But that'll do it for the VNL on both the men's and women's side. I guess I should mention the team that overachieved was the United States. The team that disappointed me in the VNL finals was clearly Japan. I don't care what anyone says. Japan really disappointed me. At least if they had bronze medal, they would not have disappointed me. But, man, dude, losing your last 2 games losing in the semifinals and then losing the bronze medal match. That's rough. And the irony, Japan was undefeated in 5-set matches, and they needed six times to beat their opponents in 5, but they lost a 5-setter, which was their first loss of the men's VNL, which is pretty ironic and funny if you ask me. But yeah, Poland was still the dominant team on the men's VNL side, so it's basically up to everyone else to try to see if they can be knocked off, which, as long as they have Tomas Fornal and Wilfredo Leon, this team ain't going anywhere. Just going to throw that out there right now. So there you have it. All right, so that's that for the men's VNL finals and the VNL altogether. And yeah, that's that for that summer ball. So we're already in August. The first serve of the AVCA First Serve Showcase is, I think, 18 days away, which I think is pretty cool. But let's talk a little NCAA women's volleyball after the commercial break. But when we come back, we'll talk a little NCAA women's volleyball, then we'll talk a smidge of AVP, and we'll talk a little high school girls volleyball. So keep it locked here. You are watching and listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
The best seat in the house where the future is made. From the stadium lights to the stadium shade, the clubhouse crews, the on-field MCs, delicious park food and the summer breeze. Every voice in the game. Catch Dirt and Diamonds every single week. The California League coverage that you seek, with Larry B and Freddie B running the show. iSports Radio is the place to go. From the front office grind to the roar of the crowd, we play it loud. The grind, the game, the minor league life. It's all tonight.
Tune in to Dirt and Diamonds every minor league season for the latest in the California League with Larry B and Freddie B on iSports Radio. Keep that dirt flying, and we'll see you next pitch.
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out Dirt and Diamonds, which is every Monday for the most part at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It talks all things minor league baseball, so if you're a fan of that, that is your show. Well, let's get on into the second half of this show. So we're actually going to talk a little NCAA women's volleyball. So today was the first day of the Big Ten Media Day in Chicago, Illinois. So this is another bucket list item for me to try to go to. Look, I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I really, really, really one day wish I can attend a Big Ten Media Day. It's just something I really wish I can go to. The problem is that it's in Chicago, Illinois, which means I have to book a flight. Well, flights, that's 2 flights to and from. And then I have to book a hotel. And then I have to also get approved for a credential, which should not be tough just because Emily Eamon, I'm sure, would approve me. But I digress. Anyway, but yeah, it's another bucket list item. I really want to one day go to a Big Ten Media Day in Chicago. And I heard there was some funny stuff and amazing quotes that were said from Kelly Sheffield, as well as Danny Busboom Kelly, and so on and so forth, as well as Matt Worley and Brad Keller. How am I forgetting Brad Keller? That's the one of the teams I'm going to be covering in terms of the NCAA women's volleyball this year. Anyway, so you have that right there. So yeah, today was the Big Ten Media Day. You also had some of the not AVCA, the preseason polls that were just released. If I could get to it right now. So yeah, we'll go down the line here. So since we talked about the Big Ten, is this it? Yes, this is the Big Ten media poll. So let's just get rid of this overlay. And why did I zoom in? There we go. All right. So yeah, here's the Big Ten preseason poll for this year. Obviously, Wisconsin is number one, and then you've got, I'm sorry, not Wisconsin. Nebraska is number one. Number two is Wisconsin. So I meant to say, obviously, Nebraska is number one, but right behind them is Wisconsin. And then Penn State is number three. Purdue is number four. Minnesota is number five. Indiana is number six. USC 7. Oregon 8. UCLA 9. Illinois 10, Michigan 11, Michigan State 12, Washington 13, Northwestern 14, Iowa 15, Ohio State 16, Rutgers 17, and Maryland 18. So, looking at this preseason poll, obviously Nebraska is going to be number one, but and then Wisconsin's number two just because they had such a busy offseason. Now, here's where I think USC and UCLA are way too low. I honestly think USC should be number 5. Some are saying Penn State is way too high. I kind of agree with that. I kind of don't. I want to see a full competent season of let me just get rid of this overlay really quick. Boom. But I do want to say I want to see a full competent season of Penn State. Obviously, what happened last year is what happened last year, but I need to see a full, competent, and well-organized season from Penn State this year. I think Penn State, to me, obviously they wound up winning an NCAA tournament match, but losing in the second round just kind of left a lot of meat on the bone. But I want to see Penn State prove themselves. I mean, USC also has quite a bit to prove. I mean, 7, I feel USC is a top 5 team in the Big Ten. Now, I don't know if they're certainly not going to beat Nebraska. I'm not sure if they'll beat Wisconsin, even though Wisconsin's coming to Galen Center. I think this year Minnesota comes to Galen this year. UCLA, USC is going to be interesting. I think UCLA is a little too low in my opinion. I think they're also right on the cusp of being a top 5 team in the Big Ten. I think they're number 6, and then USC should be number 5 because Matt Worley is going to work his magic big time. And I think UCLA has some stud players on their team that they return and that they brought in. So do not sleep on the Bruins by any means, and do not sleep on USC by any means. I'm hoping to catch a good chunk of USC women's volleyball matches this year, just because obviously I want to see what USC is made of, just because, it's tough for me to cover a Power 5 team just because the closest teams in my neck of the woods are Long Beach State and UC Irvine, which are not Power 5 teams, with all due respect to them. But yeah, I really want to see what USC can do. I want to see a good, competent, and good organized season from USC. I want to see them hungry this year in terms of wanting to host again for the NCAA tournament, just because I feel once they lost to Nebraska, their hunger to try to host the NCAA tournament, or at least the first 2 rounds, showed them. Just because, remember, USC had a gauntlet of Final Four games after they lost to Nebraska. They were at Oregon, which they had not won at since 2016. They were home against Illinois, which was a tricky opponent. They took on Michigan State, which had some sort of postseason aspirations. And then Michigan, obviously, they were good. They wound up winning a NCAA tournament match last year. But I think the big thing for the Big Ten this year is going to be the Big Ten tournament. And tickets are already on sale. So if you haven't gotten yours, go get them before they sell out. So I think for for the Big Ten this year. It's going to be a rather interesting year. I think Nebraska and Wisconsin are going to rule the conference with an iron fist. I definitely think Nebraska, it's their conference to lose. I would be shocked if Nebraska did not win the Big Ten conference tournament. I mean, the only team that I think maybe poses a threat is Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's the best team to try to take them down. Again, I want to see what Penn State has to offer. Purdue should still be good after last year's run through the Elite Eight. I want to see what Minnesota could do. Last year, they were just banged up all over the place. Hopefully, for their sake, they don't get banged up and they don't have a lot of key players missing. Indiana, they had a lot of success last year. They went to their first Sweet 16 since... I actually don't know when their last Sweet 16 was. I think it was like in like the 2000s, like the early 2000s, but I can't be sure of that. But Indiana's got a little bit of a tall task to try to replicate its success from last year. Do I think they can do it? Obviously, but it's going to be tough and tricky. And then, like I said, USC, UCLA, I think all eyes are on. I think USC can definitely improve off last year. I think UCLA is better, if not slightly better from last year. Oregon should also be pretty good this year. I think a team that I think is like a little too low might be Washington. Now maybe Washington didn't improve a whole lot, but I think Washington might be better than 13th. I mean, Michigan also might be a little too low as well, but there's just so much good teams in the Big Ten. Like even maybe some of the worst teams like Northwestern could even knock off some big-time opponents. But, yeah, for the Big Ten, it's going to be a grind as always, but I can't wait to see what is in store for the Big Ten this year. Again, I really want to go to some USC women's volleyball matches. The problem is that if they play on Sunday, it might coincide with 3 and Out, just because 3 and Out is on at 4 p.m. approximately after the Sunday slate. But we'll see what happens when it comes to that. But I digress. But that'll do it for the Big Ten. I guess I forgot to mention that was the Big Ten preseason poll. Now it's up to the SEC preseason poll. So is this it? No, it's not. That's not it. So look at the SEC preseason poll. Let's just get rid of this overlay or this banner. So Kentucky barely inches out Texas in terms of first place in the SEC poll. Then you got Texas A&M, last year's NCAA tournament champion, at third, and then you got Florida in fourth. Then you got Tennessee at fifth, and Georgia, and then so on and so forth. But Kentucky, Texas is going to be the SEC tournament championship, and then A&M, I still think they'll be good. I think A&M might take a little bit of a step back, but they have Natalie Ring that they brought in, and she was a stud at Marquette. I just think that Texas A&M might have something to prove. I mean, last year they proved it, but let's see if they can prove it a second straight year. And then Florida, I think, will be decent because Ryan Tice is a great coach, but we'll see if he can get this team back on track. And I want to see more from Tennessee. I think Tennessee was a massive disappointment in the SEC, or not just the SEC tournament, but the NCAA tournament. But I want to see what Tennessee has in store for us this year. I want to see if Tennessee actually can do some wonders. And why is this thing not disappearing? There it is. Okay, but yeah, Tennessee, I think, can prove themselves. Georgia, I think, is going to be decent. But I think the top 4 teams from the SEC are going to be grinding it out. And then the top 3 in particular. But I honestly think Tennessee can improve. But I want to see a full season of competence from them. Same can be said for Florida. So there you have it right there. That's kind of my thoughts on the SEC quick and dirty. And now let's go to the ACC poll. So the ACC poll is a little bit more tighter, just as. So first and foremost, let's just pop this banner up. ACC preseason poll. By the way, I know my friends at Cats Talk Wednesday are ecstatic to see Kentucky as the top dog in terms of the SEC poll. But looking at the ACC poll, it's an interesting case as Stanford was picked to win the whole ACC. Then you've got Pitt, and then you've got Louisville, SMU. I'm surprised SMU didn't receive a first-place vote with all the splash moves that they made this offseason. Like, I think SMU is going to could take a big jump this year. But honestly, SMU, I think, can definitely do some great things. They're probably the most, I wouldn't say most disrespected of all the teams, but I think SMU doesn't get the spotlight like Louisville, Pitt, and Stanford do, in my honest opinion. They got North Carolina in 5th. I hear they have a stud freshman that is going to do some damage for them. Georgia Tech in 6th. They're obviously going to be solid. Maybe not as solid as they were in years past, but I still think they can do damage. Miami's an interesting case. With Flo Marie Heredia-Colon graduated, I don't know if they'll have the same success, but you never know with Miami. Then you got Florida State at number 8, NC State at 9, Wake Forest at 10, Virginia at 11, and then so on and so forth. Duke is number 15, and I actually do want to talk about Duke. So I actually did run to a former player, Lauren Klein. So she actually played at Duke, but she also played at Pacific as well. But Lauren Klein, she was real nice. I bumped into her at my job, and I introduced myself. I talked about set point for a bit, but yeah, she was really cool, and she's looking to get back into playing volleyball, not professionally, but at least for fun. And I think she sounds like she was a very nice person, and I'm glad I was able to meet her and help her out. She was wearing a Duke volleyball shirt, and I'm like, "Do you play for Duke's volleyball team?" And she said she used to, but she's not playing volleyball as of right now, but she's hoping to get back into playing real soon. But anyway, yeah, I did meet Lauren Klein, formerly of Duke Volleyball / Pacific Women's Volleyball. I thought she was a real swell person. I think she's a great person, and who knows, hopefully she'll be able to check out Set Point in the near future. But back to the ACC poll. Stanford and Pitt are probably going to be the top dogs. Maybe Louisville can do some damage. I think Louisville is obviously going to be up there. Do I think they can win the ACC? Of course I do. But will it be tight with Pitt and Stanford? Yes. And then don't sleep on SMU. They made a lot of big splash plays. I think SMU is going to do great wonders for the ACC this year. And yeah, I think SMU is going to be a team to watch for. Maybe North Carolina can do some damage as well. And why is this thing not loading? There we go. Yeah, the ACC preseason poll. It's tough to really say just because Stanford returns most of their stars and most of their talent. It'll be really interesting to see what Izzy Stark can do when it comes to Pitt. But I do say her and Olivia Babcock are going to be quite the dynamic duo. But am I sold on it? Not quite. I'm not quite sold on it. I want to see what else Pitt has in store. I mean, Olivia Babcock is definitely a talented player, but can she take Pitt back to the Final Four? And also to that end, can she take Pitt past the Final Four? Can Pitt finally get past the semifinals and make it to the national championship and win said national championship? It feels like Pitt has been the bridesmaid when it comes to the NCAA women's volleyball, but never the bride, which is really sucky. But they have the talent, they have the pieces, they have the coaching. It's just a matter of if they can keep it together and they can, clinch what needs to be clinched in terms of the semifinals and the national championship. So we'll see what happens with Pitt volleyball. I definitely think that you should be buying stock into them if you haven't already. But Stanford Pitt is going to feed families. Just going to say it right now. All right, but that's that for the ACC preseason poll right there. I'm excited for NCAA women's volleyball season. Going to try to make it to as many matches as I possibly can if this thing wants to cooperate. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's that right there. I guess I already previewed the AVP League last week, but I guess we'll just do it as the Diet Coke version. So AVP League is officially in its last week of the regular season. So, like I said, and I actually do need to make a correction. It's actually good that I'm talking about the AVP League. So, yeah, the AVP League. Where are you, AVP League? Where are you, AVP League? There's the AVP League. Week 8. So it's actually the top 6 teams advance to the playoffs on the men's and women's side. So I actually made a mistake. I thought it was top 4 teams, but it's actually top 6 teams, which I think is a little less pressurizing for some teams. Yeah, I just think that that's actually pretty good if you ask me. I mean, the more teams, the better. I mean, I imagine the format's going to be first round of the AVP League championships on Saturday, and then later that day it's going to be the semifinals after the teams get a little bit of a break and a little bit of a catch your breath thing. And then the championship will obviously be on Sunday just because championship Sunday and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's going to be, that should be the format unless I'm mistaken. But yeah, for the AVP League for this week, looking at the team leaderboard, obviously the AVP League Cup has been clinched by the Palm Beach Passion. Miami Mayhem finished second. So on the women's side, you've got Melissa Humana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson in first place. They've clinched the playoff spot. Kelly Chang and Megan Kraft of the Miami Mayhem, they've clinched the playoff spot. I imagine the Brooklyn Blaze with Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin, they've clinched a playoff spot, but I can't be overly certain. But the LA launch with Maddie Anderson and Elena Chacon, along with the Austin Aces with Taryn Brasher and Kristen Cruz, they're all in contention for a playoff spot. The Dallas Dream with Betsy Flint and Kylie DeBerg, they're also in contention. And then the San Diego Smash with Megan J. Rice and Gina Arango are also in contention. I mean, Rice and Arango kind of the toughest path to the playoffs, just because I feel they have to win both their games to have a 4-4 record, at least a 4-4 record. And they also have to take into consideration points as well, because who knows what happens in terms of the points department. But if they can get to 4 wins, I think they're playoff bound. And then on the men's side, you've got Taylor Crabb and Andy Benish, as well as Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser of the Miami Mayhem and Palm Beach Passion, respectively, clinched the playoff spot. But 3 through 6 is definitely up for grabs. The Brooklyn Blaze with Corey Bradford, or Evan Corey and Derek Bradford, I don't think they're going to be making the playoffs. But I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Especially since they're behind the LA launch for that final playoff spot as is. But you never know when it comes to anything point differential wise. I mean, the only way I think the Brooklyn Blaze makes it to the playoffs is if the LA launch with Hagen Smith and Logan Weber lose both their games. They don't get any match points, and then their win percentage just dips. But then again, that would be the same record as the Brooklyn Blaze. And then you also have to take into consideration Troy Fielden and Ryan Wilcox as well. But we shall see. But yeah, for the AVP League, this week is the last week of the regular season, and this is going to separate who the true men are from the men. So we shall see. But yeah, that's that for the AVP League. And yeah, that'll basically do it for that. After this, the last notable event before the AVP League Championship will be the Manhattan Beach Open, which will be on August 14th all the way through the 16th. So you have that right there. One more thing to go over is let's talk a little high school girls volleyball. So over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, I lived practically at the Momentous Sports Center in Irvine. And God, it was hot as heck, dude. I would not want to wish this on my worst enemy. It's like there's no air conditioning in Momentous Sports Center. It's a nightmare. The only air conditioning in Momentous Sports Center is in the food hall, which once that gets crowded, good luck trying to find air conditioning, but I digress. But yeah, Friday I was at Momentous Sports Center for the Prep Dig Stock Up Showcase, where I got to evaluate some of the middle blockers, which I thought was cool. I'm not really the best scout. This was actually my first showcase that I ever scouted in. Normally, I'm more of a scout in terms of actual matches, but I did what I could, and I guess, hold on a sec. Excuse me, I had to sneeze a couple times. But yeah, I did what I could, and I guess it was decent in terms of. Sorry. Jeez, sneezing fit at the worst time. But I did what I could when it came to the stock up showcase. I also had to take down score as well. But yeah, I enjoyed covering the stock up showcase. Everyone at Prep did, everyone who participated, well, mostly everyone, the MVPs and standouts managed to get some goodie bags from League One Volleyball or Love Los Angeles. I even managed to snag me a t-shirt, which I thought was pretty cool if you ask me. So yeah, since League One Volleyball or Love Los Angeles is going to be in my area, and I hope to cover it, I might as well get me some swag. So yeah, and I just got a t-shirt and a wristband. Nothing out of the ordinary, but I digress. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. That was that for that stock up showcase. I'm glad I got to cover it. Thank you to Michelle Bamford and the rest of the Prep Dig team for thinking of me of covering it. So Saturday and Sunday, here's where I was really at in terms of the weekend. So for the weekend, I got to cover the Queens of the Court tournaments. Saturday and Sunday, I covered the Elite Varsity Division. And then Sunday, I also covered the Varsity Division. So the Elite Varsity Division is where all the really good teams partake in, like Mater Dei, Sierra Canyon, Santa Margarita, San Juan Hills, J. Sarah. The list goes on and on. So 10 teams partook in the Elite Varsity Division. Only 6 teams, 3 from each pool, got to advance to the gold bracket. The other 4 teams that failed to advance to the gold bracket were put in the silver bracket. So the I guess the quarterfinals or the gold bracket consisted of Mater Dei, Santa Margarita, San Juan Hills, Sierra Canyon, J. Sarah, and Corona Centennial. So the quarterfinals were, I guess I should say the format was the top 2 teams from each pool get a bye into the semifinals, which I thought was cool. Mater Dei and Santa Margarita both wound up winning their pool, and they got a bye into the semifinals, which meant the other 4 teams basically had to scrap it out in the quarterfinals. So the first matchup was San Juan Hills and Corona Centennial. San Juan Hills swept Corona Centennial unofficially. Well, okay, it was official, but I digress. But anyway, these matches don't count toward any official record, so don't get it twisted, y'all. But yeah, San Juan Hills advanced to the semifinals. Megan Hodges was obviously Megan Hodges, but someone else that impressed me was Whitney Port as well as Brendan Hoppy. Hoppy is someone to make note of just because she actually plays outside, and I think she's definitely going to take a lot of pressure off of Megan Hodges this year, as well as Whitney Port. And then Lydia Levere and Bella Tercios were both studs at the libero position. And definitely keep an eye out for one of the setters at San Juan Hills, Kapua Lee. So if you know her, she's actually the sister of Kalea Lee, who is the setter at Mater Dei, who I'm surprised she hasn't committed yet. I can't wait to see where she's going to commit at, though. So we'll see. The other quarterfinal matchup was J. Sarah Sierra Canyon. Now, going into this tournament, Sierra Canyon was super banged up, and they were missing a few players. So they didn't have Lucky Fosavallo, who was with the Samoan women's national team. Hannah McGinnis was out due to an ankle injury. I think it was an ankle injury. And then Kendall Omarui, she got to play a little, but she had a back injury, and she wasn't 100%. She actually got rear-ended in a car accident, which was so tough. So Sierra Canyon was kind of limping in when it came to the whole Queens of the Court tournament. And it kind of showed as they kind of dropped a few sets here and there. They lost to Santa Margarita in pool play. They dropped the first set to J. Sarah, wound up winning the second set, and they were up 13-11 in set number 3. And they still had McKenna McIntosh and Eva Jeffries. Unfortunately, they just could not hold on as J. Sarah rattled off 4 straight points as J. Sarah wound up winning the 5th set 15-13. Now, the interesting thing about J. Sarah is that they have so much depth on their team. Unfortunately, they did lose Catherine Nowak as she transferred to Mater Dei, but I definitely think that this J. Sarah team is still under the radar. Kendall Stark is a fantastic setter. Emma Goodrich is still blossoming as a libero, but she's a stud. Michaela Ziegler is still good. how am I blanking on this girl's first name? I know her last name is Graham, but yeah. But yeah, Graham, middle blocker. Graham was a stud in the middle. I definitely think this J Sarah team is underrated. It's going to be tough for them to compete in the Trinity League or finish in the top 2 in the Trinity League. But I definitely think this team is not to be slept on. I think they're a sleeper team in my honest opinion. So definitely keep an eye out for J Sarah this year in the Trinity League and in terms of the CIF Southern section. But yeah, the semifinals were Mater Dei, J Sarah, and Santa Margarita, San Juan Hills. San Juan Hills, quote unquote, upset Santa Margarita in straight sets. I was very surprised that San Juan Hills was able to pull off that upset, especially since Santa Margarita had a bye and they had more time to rest. And the matchup against Centennial for San Juan Hills, that was kind of a grueling matchup just because it certainly wasn't an easy matchup. Like in the second set, they had to grind that one out in overtime, winning the second set 29-27. And Centennial still has some studs. I know they lost Sydney Bryant to graduation. I think they still have Asia I forget her last name. It's like Asia Uma Oda or something like that. Either way, I think she's committed to Arizona, and if I'm not mistaken. But either way, I think the Centennial still solid. I don't think they're as good as years past, but I still think they're a good team. But yeah, back to San Juan Hills, Santa Margarita. Megan Hodges was just outstanding. I mean, it was kind of the battle of two future opponents between Megan Hodges, who's committed to Nebraska, and Ireland Real, who's committed to Texas. Those two are going to be facing off against one another, and I thought that was pretty cool to see. And both played for the US U19 team, and both have a lot of respect for one another. So I'm excited. I am proud to say I covered both of those two, and I can't wait to cover them once they get into college. But first, but here's the thing. Ireland Real is in her senior year, while Megan Hodges is in her junior year. And the scary thing about Hodges is that her game just continues to get better and better. She is now top spin serving, and it's like, dang, son. Megan Hodges is going to break the volleyball world, especially on the high school scene. So I can't wait to see what happens when it comes to San Juan Hills in their season. They're actually going to be playing in some really good tournaments. They've got the Ann King tournament in Hawaii. They've got the Dave Mose tournament, which they wound up winning last year. And then they're also playing in the Durango tournament, which, God, that is a very tough schedule. And then the South Coast League isn't anything to sneeze at either. There are some good teams in that league. It's just that they're not as good as like the Trinity League or the Sunset League, in my opinion. And that's with all due respect to them. I think with all due respect to the South Coast League, they have some good teams. It's just that they're not on the nationally ranked side of things, except for San Juan, but I digress. All right, so the other semifinal was Mater Dei, J Sarah. Mater Dei wound up beating J Sarah, which was not surprising. J Sarah was just super worn out from their matchup against Sierra Canyon. And it was a hot day. I think it was right like in the 80s, mid 80s, when the semifinals occurred. And that was like at 11 a.m. So yeah, it was tough for every team. And then the final obviously consisted of Mater Dei and San Juan Hills. The third place match was J Sarah Santa Margarita, which Santa Margarita won. I mean, it's a third place match. It's not ultimately a big deal, but you still got to play the game. I mean, you got to squeeze in as much time on the volleyball court as you can. But Mater Dei San Juan Hills was thrilling. Mater Dei did wind up winning the match, but they wound up winning in 3 as San Juan Hills became the only team to take a set off them, but not hand them a loss. As Mater Dei, they're an interesting bunch. They've got some new players. Obviously, Wesley Bonavau is a fantastic player. She returns for them. Emma Kingston, who's committed to Cal, she's back. I forgot to mention that Wesley Bonavau is committed to UCLA. Shua Adefemiwa, she is returner for Mater Dei. She's committed to LSU. They also have a girl committed to, a junior setter / opposite committed to Hawaii. Like, Mater Dei's depth is all over the place. Like, players that are probably on the bench could probably start for any other team, but they're now at Mater Dei. So and the same can be said for like Sierra Canyon and maybe Narrowmount and some of the other teams in the southern section, but I digress. So overall for Mater Dei, they're just still going to be good as always. They've got a lot of depth and talent on their team. And the scary thing is that I don't think they've hit their true potential. Well, obviously they haven't hit their true potential. I imagine some of their players that transfer, like Nowak and Sienna Cicero, yeah. She transferred from Orange Lutheran. She's going to be good. So, yeah, this modern-day team is still going to be up there in terms of talent. How will they stack up against Sierra Canyon? We are going to have to wait and see because they will be playing, most likely be playing them at Durango. So that's going to be all fun and dandy. Sierra Canyon will definitely be up there in talent. They return all but one or two of their players from last year. I think their only big question mark will probably be their libero, but I think they have that figured out. So I think Sierra Canyon's going to be up there. Marday is going to be up there. I think Marymount should still be up there. San Juan Hills should be up there. Redondo, even though Tommy Chafin's retired, I think they should still be up there. Miracosta has a new head coach. I still think they'll be up there. Harvard Westlake, I think, can be up there. Los Alamitos, they've got some studs on their team. They'll still be up there. They obviously have Caitlin Herwig, who's committed to Indiana. Charlotte Hall, who's committed to Point Loma. Genesis Spots, who's also really darn good as well. They're going to be up there. Newport Harbor might be up there. They have Ella Olson, who's obviously committed to Texas for beach and indoor. They also have Piper Cody, who's committed to Indiana. They have Morgan Starkenberg, who's a budding middle blocker. She's committed to Pepperdine. Kaden Klausing, who's uncommitted. I think she'll do wonders for the Sailors this year. So, and then I think I said Marymount already, but Marymount is obviously going to be up there in talent. They're always good in terms of talent. So yeah, Division I in the CIF Southern section is going to be really interesting this year. So hopefully the CIF can get it right and they don't put like the wrong teams that aren't deserving in it. Like, for example, Crean Lutheran, with all due respect to Crean Lutheran, they did not want to be in Division I, and I don't think they should have been in Division I. I think the team that should have been in Division I was Santa Margarita, and I think Santa Margarita can be in Division I, but we shall see. Now for the varsity division. So nothing against the varsity division. I kind of couldn't really cover all of that just because there's a lot of matches. Like, the elite varsity division had the elite varsity division had 10 teams. The regular varsity division had 50 teams. 50 teams partaking in it. It was ridiculous. In the end, Long Beach Poly repeated as tournament champions. And look, Long Beach Poly is an interesting team. It's not like they don't play like modern day, but they're scrappy as heck. They're digging every ball. They're going after it. They are just resilient and just all over the place when it comes down to it. So I think for Long Beach Poly, they could do damage in it all depends on what Long Beach Poly team we get. If we get the Long Beach Poly team that just excels in the Long Beach Poly team that excels at Queens of the Court, there's not a whole lot of teams that's going to be stopping Long Beach Poly because they've got Sika Talaga, who is committed to Illinois. They also have another girl that's really good, Allison Wedelin, who's just committed to Weiselin. She's pretty darn good as well. She is in her second year at Poly, and she is not skipping a beat. They also had other players like Avery Milburn, Aaliyah, not Chappelle, but you know what I mean. And then I think her name was Ryla Claiborne. She's also a good middle blocker as well. Like, Long Beach Poly is like the only reason why I don't think Poly gets the love like they do, like the other teams do, is that they play in the Moore League, which isn't a bad league, but it's not the most glamorous league. Like, they take the top 4 teams into the playoffs. Milliken is an improving team. That is a solid team right there. They want all the smoke this year. They're scheduling all sorts of really good teams. Wilson's decent. And then the 4th place team is probably either going to be Cabrillo or I'm blanking on who else is in that league. Cabrillo, Long Beach Jordan. That's another team in their league, but I digress. But yeah, for Long Beach Poly, I think they should still run. They still are probably going to run their league. It all depends on how they'll do in CIF. I think they have the studs to keep up with everyone in Division 2 or Division 3, but it all depends on how they do throughout the entire season and if they're up for the challenge. But I'm excited to see what they have in store. Poly did take down Beckman in the semifinals, and then they also took down Los Osos. Los Osos has some pretty darn good players like Chloe Taylor, who's committed to Colorado. And then they also have Jocelyn Jacks, who I thought really impressed me. She has a wicked top spin serve, and she has a pretty killer roll shot as well as a big attack. So do not sleep on Los Osos. I'll be seeing them again when it comes to the Dave Mose tournament. They're going to be playing in the Division 1 tournament, which I think is really cool. So Dave Mose has 2 divisions, Division 1 and Division 2, which the Division 1 teams, if you want to challenge, you're going into the Division 1 bracket. If you want to have somewhat of a challenge, but not a grueling challenge where you're not facing nationally ranked teams, Division 2 is for you. But I can't wait to see what Los Osos has in store when it comes to the Dave Mose tournament. Obviously, they're located outside of my neck of the woods, but I definitely think they have a lot of upside to their team. But yeah, that's that for basically. I'm going to be seeing a good chunk of those teams from the varsity division this upcoming season. But that'll do it for the high school girls volleyball scene where I covered Queens of the Court. Thank you to Queens of the Court for letting me for all the love and coverage. It was an honor to basically bring you all the coverage on Instagram. And honestly, it would have been tough to tweet out and then post on X, or basically post on X and then post on Instagram, just because it's really hot in that gym and my phone often kind of overheated, which is no bueno if you ask me. But once again, thank you to Queens of the Court for their hospitality and for letting me cover their tournament. I appreciate y'all. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody for tuning in. I know this was a little bit of a shorter show, but we're kind of in that echelon of summer where there's not much to talk about volleyball-wise. I mean, we're still kind of in the off season when it comes to NCAA women's volleyball. The AVP League is wrapping up, and soon we're going to have the Manhattan Beach, aka the Manhattan Beach Open, aka the granddaddy of them all. Soon we're going to be getting more international volleyball with USA Volleyball and whatnot, and so on and so forth. But once NCAA women's volleyball kicks off, it's going to be fun times. And speaking of USA Volleyball, if you haven't got your tickets to the USA Challenge Cup between them and Canada, definitely do so. The 2 teams will be playing at Jenny Craig Pavilion on the campus of University of San Diego on Saturday, August 15th. And then on Sunday, August 16th, they'll be playing at the Brent Event Center on the campus of UC Irvine, which I think will be really cool if you ask me. But that'll do it for that little bit of a promotion, and that'll do it for this week's episode of Set Point. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself an amazing week. Enjoy all the volleyball action. Stay cool because it is still scorching. Summer is still happening, and the sun is not going to be letting up. But I will see you all next week for a new episode of Set Point. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.